I still remember the exact moment my life split into before and after. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, cruel, and wrapped in the voice of someone I trusted, my brother. We were sitting in my parents' living room in Westchester, New York, the same room where family photos lined the walls like proof that we were once happy, the same couch where my mother used to sit beside me and stroke my hair when I was stressed from work, the same place where my father once told me I was the smartest person in the room. That night, he wouldn't even look at me. My brother cleared his throat and said, "Dad, Mom, there's something you need to know." I felt it in my stomach before I heard the words. He said my name. Then he said, "She lost the contracts, all of them, every major deal the company depended on." The room went silent. I laughed, actually laughed, because it was so absurd that my brain refused to process it. "What?" I said. "That's not even possible." But my brother didn't stop. "She made the calls. She handled the negotiations. And now the clients are gone. I tried to fix it, but the damage was already done." I looked at my parents, waiting for them to laugh with me. They didn't. My mother's face went pale. My father's jaw tightened. That was the moment I realized something terrifying. They believed him. Before everything fell apart, I wasn't always the family disappointment. I was the reliable one. While my brother Ethan was charming and reckless, I was careful and disciplined. He partied in college. I stayed up late studying. He changed majors 3 times. I graduated early with honors in finance and operations management. When my father's logistics company started expanding nationally, I was the one he trusted with the biggest clients. Not because I was his daughter, because I delivered results. For 7 years, I worked myself into exhaustion. Red-eye flights, weekend meetings, missed birthdays, canceled vacations. I helped grow the company from a regional operation into a national supplier with contracts worth tens of millions. Ethan joined later. He was given a title, Vice President of Business Development, but no real responsibility at first. He smiled through meetings, took credit when deals went well, vanished when problems arose. And yet, my parents adored him. "He's just finding his footing," my mother would say. I never complained. That was my first mistake. The contracts that disappeared. 3 months before everything collapsed, I started noticing problems. Emails went unanswered. Calendar invites disappeared. Meeting notes were missing from shared folders. I assumed it was technical. I shouldn't have. One afternoon, I received a call from one of our biggest clients, a national retail chain we'd worked with for 5 years. "Why didn't you show up to the meeting?" the client asked. "I was there," I said. "No," he replied. "We met with Ethan. He said you were no longer managing our account." My stomach dropped. I confronted Ethan immediately. He smiled like I was overreacting. "Relax," he said. "I was just stepping in temporarily. You've been stretched thin." I wanted to believe him. So I did. Over the next few weeks, more clients were quietly reassigned. I was excluded from meetings I had set up myself. Access permissions changed. Files locked. Then came the cancellations. One by one. Clients who once praised my work suddenly lost confidence. By the time I realized what was happening, it was too late. Ethan had already rewritten the story. The night he destroyed me. Back in the living room, my father finally spoke. "Is this true?" he asked me. "No," I said instantly. "This is a lie. I never lost those contracts. Ethan." "He's in denial," Ethan interrupted softly. I didn't want to say anything, but I couldn't let the company suffer. I stood up. "You reassigned my accounts without telling me. You blocked my access. You told clients I was stepping down." Ethan shook his head slowly, like I was embarrassing myself. "See," he said to our parents, "this is what I mean. She can't accept responsibility." That was when my mother started crying. "I raised you better than this," she whispered to me. My father didn't raise his voice. That was worse. "You're suspended from company operations," he said, "until we sort this out." Suspended. Just like that. 7 years erased in a single sentence. Ethan offered to take over temporarily. They let him. What hurt more than the lies? I could have handled the professional betrayal. What broke me was my parents' silence afterward. No calls. No texts. No questions. They didn't ask for evidence. They didn't ask for my side. They just accepted the version that was easiest for them. The version where their son was the hero and their daughter was the failure. I packed my things and left the house I grew up in with nothing but a suitcase and a burning sense of injustice. I cried exactly once. Then I stopped. Because somewhere between heartbreak and rage, something else took shape. Clarity. The decision. Ethan thought he had won. He thought I would disappear quietly. He didn't know one thing about me. I don't forget. And I don't forgive betrayal. If he wanted to destroy my reputation, I would dismantle his. Slowly. Legally. Publicly. And when it was over, he wouldn't just lose the company. He'd lose the trust he built his entire life on. When you lose everything overnight, people assume you fall apart. I didn't. I went quiet. And that scared everyone later. For weeks after I was suspended from the company, I lived in a small sublet apartment in Queens. No view, no luxury, just a mattress on the floor and a folding table with my laptop on it. While Ethan wore my title, sat in my office, and gave interviews about saving the company, I did something far more dangerous. I watched. The pattern he didn't notice. Ethan was arrogant, not careful. That was his weakness. He assumed once my parents turned against me, the story was finished. He assumed I was too emotional to fight back, too embarrassed, too broken. He forgot something crucial. I had built that company's systems. Every process, every workflow, every backup, even the ones he didn't know existed. I still had access to archived servers, legacy email logs, and CRM timestamps that hadn't been touched in years because no one but me understood how they worked. And slowly, patiently, I started pulling threads. The first crack, the first real proof, came from a client Ethan claimed I had lost due to incompetence. The CRM showed something different. The contract wasn't terminated. It was transferred. Transferred from my name to Ethan's, 3 weeks before the client supposedly walked away. Then I found the email. Sent from Ethan's account. Per our discussion, my sister is stepping back from the account. I'll be your primary contact going forward. Dated before my suspension. Before my parents knew anything was wrong. My hands shook, not from fear but from adrenaline. This wasn't sabotage. It was premeditated. Building the case. I didn't confront him. That would have warned him. Instead, I did what I always did best. I documented everything. Screenshots. Metadata. Login histories. Calendar edits. Access revocations. Then I went further. I contacted former clients, not to accuse but to listen. And when people feel heard, they talk. One executive told me Ethan pressured them to renegotiate at worse terms, claiming I had mismanaged expectations. Another admitted Ethan suggested taking business elsewhere, then quietly pitched a consulting firm he had personal ties to. A firm he was secretly advising. A conflict of interest. An illegal one. By the time I finished, I didn't just have proof he framed me. I had proof he was bleeding the company dry. The moment my parents couldn't ignore. I didn't storm into the house. I didn't beg. I sent one email. To both my parents. Subject line, for when you're ready to see the truth. Inside was a single document. 37 pages. Time-stamped. Cross-referenced. Impossible to deny. I didn't explain. I didn't defend myself. I let the facts speak. 3 days passed. Then my father called. His voice sounded older. "Why didn't you say anything?" he asked. I laughed softly. "You didn't ask." Silence stretched between us. Then he said the words I never expected. "We need to talk." The boardroom reckoning. The emergency board meeting was scheduled for Friday morning. Ethan walked in confident, smug, untouchable. Until he saw me. I was sitting at the table. Not beside him. Across from him. His smile faltered for half a second. That was all I needed. My father opened the meeting without ceremony. Then he slid my report across the table. "Explain this," he said to Ethan. Ethan laughed nervously. "Dad, she's trying to manipulate." "Explain, the emails." The color drained from his face as page after page appeared on the screen behind me. Every lie he told unraveled. Clients reassigned without approval. False statements. Financial self-dealing. Then came the final blow. A recorded call. Ethan's voice filled the room. "Once she's out, they'll never question me. They trust me." No one spoke. Ethan stood up furious. "She planned this," he shouted, pointing at me. "She's always been jealous." "Sit down," my father said coldly. Ethan didn't. Security escorted him out. After the fall, Ethan was removed from the company that day. Not suspended. Removed. The board launched a formal investigation. Legal action followed. Clients were contacted. Apologies were made. Publicly. Quietly. Painfully. My parents changed. They tried to apologize. It was awkward, clumsy, incomplete. "I should have believed you," my mother cried. I nodded. "Yes," I said, "you should have." I returned to the company, not as a daughter. As an executive. With full authority. And one condition. Ethan would never be allowed back. They agreed without hesitation. The truth about revenge. People think revenge is about humiliation. It's not. It's about balance. I didn't scream at Ethan. I didn't gloat. I didn't chase his downfall. I simply removed the mask he wore and let the world react naturally. Last I heard, he moved out of state. No one returned his calls. His connections vanished. Turns out, when trust is your currency, and it's gone, you're bankrupt. The ending I chose. Sometimes, I still think about that night in the living room. The silence. The disbelief. The way my parents looked at me like a stranger. But I don't feel anger anymore. I feel something better. Peace. Because I learned the truth early. Not everyone who smiles at you wants you to win. Not even family. And if someone tries to destroy your name, don't beg them to stop. Let them build the lie. Then bury themselves under it. The end.